Hello everyone. We're going to continue with our SQL lessons and with select statements. Again, this video is going to be probably a little bit longer than usual. Please watch it all the way to the end. A lot of good stuff in here. So we stopped with doing the outer joins. I want to go ahead and write one more join that's kind of complex. I'm going to call it complex join here. Let me click in here first. All right, so I'm going to select first name, last name, and let's say title from customers, join orders. So far we've only done two table joins. How do we do more than two tables? Well, first we do say on customers dot customer ID. I don't like the fact that these things are turning red. Let me go to IntelliSense again and refresh the local cache. Is equal to orders dot customer ID. And I can see why they're red, and that didn't change anything because this is switched to master. So let's go ahead and switch it to publishers. And there they go. Good. I misspelled customers here, so let me go ahead and correct that. All good. All right. So what happens when you do a join like this, SQL Server or SQL in general will actually create a table based on this join. So I can continue, and once this table has been created, to join that result to another table. So I'm going to join this to order items. On what? On orders dot order ID is equal to order items dot order ID. And again, this is going to create another table which I can further join to another table. So I'm going to join it to books on order items dot ISBN equaling to orders. I'm sorry, to books dot ISBN. Then I'm going to order all this by title. Let's check it out. So here we are. Oops, I forgot to highlight, so it actually ran everything. So here we are. So we can see which customers purchased which books, and we can see that like Bonito Morales right here is bought these books, and I think there's one of them that bought. So there it is. Bonito Morales is bought Cooking with Mushrooms twice actually. So this is a more complex join, but hopefully you see it's really not that complex. Let's go ahead and take a look at functions in SQL. We're going to start with something simple. Let's do select, and I'm going to type in lower. Typically speaking, we still spell these in, we do this in uppercase, first name and lower last name from customers. Okay. So this is going to turn all the first names and last names to lowercase. Perhaps that's something you like to do. As you might expect, there's an upper, which makes everything uppercase. Let's take a look at the replace function, which is a very powerful function, very useful. So I'm going to say select, replace. What replace does, it actually takes a string, in this case the address field, let's say, and takes what you want to search for. In this case, I'm going to search for PO, and replaces it with whatever comes in this second parameter, which I wanted to change to post office. Now keep in mind, this is just in the select result. This is not actually modifying the table itself. But instead of showing POs, it will now show post office boxes. Let's check it out. There we are. We could, of course, add in the customer's name here if we wanted to. First name, last name, and then do the replace, so we could see which customers have those addresses. The ones that have the PO boxes are showing up with post office boxes now. Okay. Let's write a query and then build up on it. So I'm going to write a query that may seem a little strange. Let's build to a subquery. So I'm going to say select title and cost. And again, I misspelled select. Okay, thanks for God for color coding. From books, where cost is greater than 31.4. You may be wondering what a precise number you're picking, and you're correct. And category is equal to computer. So if I actually do this, I am going to get a bunch of results, namely in the category of computer, I have 2 books that cost more than $31.40. Where did that number come from? Well, if I were to actually put this equal to 31.4 and just run this part, we can see that's the cost of database implementation. So I'm cheating a little bit here. I'm actually looking ahead. So let's actually write this more properly. The question is, which titles cost, let's say, more than the database implementation book in the computer category? So I'm going to say select title cost again from books. Now, instead of saying where cost is greater than 31.4, I am going to say where cost is greater than, and dump another select statement here. You can put a select statement anywhere. Where select cost from books, where title is equal to database implementation. So if I were to actually run this, this is going to return that one value for us, and you can see that it's basically equivalent of the one above. And then I'm going to come down here and put my AND clause, and I misspelled where here. So AND category is equal to computer. So we get the same exact result, but this one is much cleaner, much more professional, of course. All right. And this brings us to the concept of aggregate functions. So they're called aggregate functions because they actually aggregate a bunch of rows together to generate a value. So these are things such as max, min, sum, average, and count, for instance. Let's take a look at another select statement here. So select title from books, where retail is equal to, and I'm going to do another select statement here, select max retail as cost from books. So if I were to run this small select statement right here, we can see that this returns the maximum cost. So the question is, what's the title of the book that costs the most? I can do it this way, and that is Painless Child Rearing. So that's an aggregate function. Now remember that if this returns a single value as expected, if you put a function in here that potentially returns more than one value, then you would get an error message here. But this is an aggregate function, so we don't expect that. Let's write another one. So select ISBN and title from books, okay, where pub ID is equal to another select statement. Here's another subquery. Select pub ID from books, where title is equal to Big Bear and Little Dove. Okay, we know what this is going to do. This is going to return a publisher's ID. So that's publisher ID 5. So we're going to get all the ISBNs and titles from the books table where the publisher ID is number 5. Okay. We're going to put another condition here, and we want the retail minus cost, that is the profit, to be greater than another select ABG for average of retail minus cost, which is our profit margin from books. What is our average profit? This is the average profit. We want all the books from publisher 5, which is this publisher that did Big Bear and Little Dove, that cost more than the average of all the other books. So here we go. Check it out. We got 2 books, Shortest Poems and Painless Child Rearing, from this particular publisher, publisher ID 5, that have a profit more than the average. So hopefully this is making sense, what we're doing. Let's do one more and take a look at another aggregate function right here. I'm going to do select category, and I'm going to put the aggregate function right here. Average retail minus cost as average profit. I'm going to write this in several stages from books. Now, if I were to actually do this, I'm going to get an error message. Let's actually see it. So, oops, for this error message is because of the double quote missing. So let me fix that first. But here it is. You can see that it says it is not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause is basically missing. When you apply an aggregate function in a select statement, this average retail minus cost tries to average that value. It returns a single value, and then I'm selecting category. What SQL wants to know is, well, how do you want this to be displayed? I can't display it like this. I can't display this with this average. What I can do is I can actually average this for each category. In other words, I can average by within grouping of each category. So if I group by category, this is going to work. So I'm going to say group by category, and this is going to be fine now. So within, oops, misspelled category, category, there we go. So if we take a look now, within each category, we have the average profit, okay? Very simple. Now, if you have more than one selection, more than one column right here, you need to group by all of those, and you just use a comma separator list to do that. From the list that's provided, if I want to basically fetch anything out now, because this is coming after the group by, you don't say where, you put having here. So I can say having, for instance, something. So having, let's say, ABG retail minus cost to be greater than, let's say, 18. So I can do this. And you can see it reduces it. Now I can be a little bit more professional about this and say it's greater than, and then do another subquery, select average retail minus cost from books where category equals literature. And let me line this up so it's a little bit cleaner. If I were to do this, you can see this returns a single value. Again, I'm missing something. What am I missing? Select, oops, I didn't select the last quote in my highlighting. So this returns a single value, $18.10. So when I run this, I'm going to get this result, computer and family life, as you can see. So this is how aggregate functions work. Hopefully you find that it's really not that difficult. I do want to go over one more right here as far as functions go, and that is the count function. So I can say select, first of all, everything from orders, let's say. So let's take a look at this. Now I can see that I have a total of 21 rows down here, it shows me. What if I want to count how many orders do I have? I can say select count asterisk from orders. And this is the best way to do it. Let me show you what I mean. If I do this, it returned 21 as expected. I don't have to say asterisk. I can say select count order ID from orders. And let's check it out. Notice I still get 21. Just be careful, because if I were to run this, and I can see I have ship date here. If I were to do this and say select count ship date from orders, and again, this may be something you want to do in practice, of course, but this is going to return 15. It doesn't count nulls. If you want to know how many rows your table has, the safest bet is to just say count asterisk, and I just wanted to see that. So if you put a particular column in there, if the column has nulls, then it will not count the nulls. Okay? Very good. I just wanted you to have this experience with aggregate functions and a little bit of more complex join and certainly subqueries, so you can hopefully see where this stuff is applicable. I would like to thank you for being such a wonderful audience, and if you're enjoying these videos, please share them with loved ones and friends. Thank you. Until the next video.